What's going on, y'all? Welcome to Marshall Time once again, the Thanksgiving edition. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, man? Thanksgiving, holiday season, Thanksgiving and Christmas, best time of the year, despite the cold weather. But
It's getting cold. We got snow up here in New England, like last night, first snowfall, but the rain washed it all away, so it's all good.
rainy, windy, down, up, down
Yeah.
here, where it was crazy last night. But it's
Thanks.
all good.
Thanksgiving, Christmas time, like this is the best time for sports fans, I think. The NBA is in full swing. The NFL is getting closer to the playoffs. College hoops is back. So, I mean, this is a good time, exciting time. A lot to talk about every day, pretty much at this point. One of the big things, one of the big conversations this week when it comes to the NFL conversation, arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom Brady, went on an interview with Stephen A. Smith and said that the NFL product has been mediocre. And that's a conversation we've had in a previous show, just talking about how just compared to past years, the level of quality of play just doesn't match up. And Tom Brady's spot on. And, I definitely feel like there's multiple, it's not one simple answer. There's multiple reasons. But when you look at it on any given week, I don't know which team is going to show up. I don't know. Even in fantasy, right? You'll think you have the perfect fantasy lineup, and these certain names aren't producing like you thought they would. It's just been a wacky year all around. To where you have the elite, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Bengals were in that conversation. It seemed like they were on the upswing, but then Joe Burrow's hurt now, right? You thought the Dolphins were going to be in that conversation, but I don't know about them right now at this point. You got the 49ers. But even in the AFC, the Steelers, are they really, like, you look at their record, like, how, right? Now the Browns are sort of opening things up, opening some eyes in the AFC. And so I'm looking at the AFC and NFC. I can pretty much, you never know what's going to happen, right? But in the NFC, I can pretty much pinpoint the Eagles and 49ers. I'm confident in saying, barring injury, we're going to have a rematch of San Fran and Philly in the NFC title game. Like, I don't foresee, some people may say Detroit, but Jared Goff still got to prove it to me. Like, he has to prove it to me. Like, I'm still not sold on him yet. And Detroit has to prove it to me. They haven't done it yet in the playoffs as a franchise. So there's a whole situation of a culture shift that they're going through, but there's still steps that they have to experience that they haven't won a playoff. They haven't been in the playoffs, and I just don't remember. It's been a while, right? And so they have to prove it to me. We know the conversation with Dallas in the AFC, like I said, the Chiefs, and then who else, right? I don't know if there's a second team that's really solidified itself like, oh, that's a juggernaut right now. Shout out to Baltimore. Baltimore is a team I think can have that conversation. Maybe the Browns, the Dolphins are tailing off, even the Bills looking suspect. So yeah, it's just mediocre all around. And I think a lot of it comes down to the quarterback play for a lot of these teams. There's some bad quarterback play. Like, you just on a weekly basis. Like, I wrote down a list. We'll talk about it. I counted the number of teams that I wrote down that say they have to or they should think about a new quarterback. And it's not a good look for the NFL when it comes to the quarterback conversation. But yeah, that's just my early thoughts on what Tom Brady said.
Yeah, I agree with Tom Brady 100%. And I was actually starting to say this last year when, because, as Eagles fans, the thing people would say to us last year was, oh, you guys have a weak schedule. And I'm saying back to them, majority of the NFL is weak. That's just the truth. Like, even back to last year, I knew that when it came down to it, the only team we had to worry about was the 49ers. They had Brock Purdy at quarterback, who's doing good this year, but still not convinced. You know what I mean? I don't like him coming into the Lincoln beating us. I'm not convinced in that. You know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know what it is, because I never thought, like, we've seen the NBA get watered down over the years because we know it's younger players coming in. We have the whole low management thing. I get it. It's a long season. But the NFL, like, just football, like, the fact that it's a short season and they only play once a week, I never thought I would see it watered down to this extent. Part of it is because officiating is bad. It can be bad across the board. They're catering to the offense more, which is, trying to make it more entertaining. I understand that. But also that preseason, those 2 preseason games that they took out, that couple of weeks that they're missing, man, it's kind of showing in their product, because I feel like a lot of these teams are lacking the preparation they may have needed before the season. So I don't really know. I know we spoke about the quarterback thing because, let's be real. Like a lot of these teams, they're either having trouble protecting their quarterback, and their quarterbacks are getting hurt. Shout out Joe Burrow. The Bengals, he's a crazy talent, but the Bengals can't protect him. Or you have a situation like the Chargers with Justin Herbert, where the weapons aren't there. Like he has Keenan Allen, but he can only do so much. Austin Eckler stays hurt. We seen the game-winning touchdown. Dude dropped it. Same with Mahomes, but the Chiefs, they're still going to be the Chiefs in the end. But it's just like I don't know. I feel like it's just across the board. These teams aren't built right. The preseason, they're not preparing right. It's not a good look for the NFL, man. And like you said, there's only a couple of teams that I really take seriously to really do something. Like even the Bills. We talk about the Bills.
I don't believe in the Bills. I don't.
Even the Bills, they were a team that for the past couple of years, actually, a lot of people consider them contenders. And they're out here struggling with teams, losing the teams they shouldn't be losing to. And now they're like 6-5. I don't. It's just messy, man. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think coaching has a lot to do with it too. I know the Chargers coach he should face the criticism that he's facing. I mean, the Chargers have always, even with Phillip Rivers, they've always been a team that has been in the conversations, has been like a trendy pick to come out of the AFC. They have always had the talent, but they just don't get it done. And so the Chargers coach, Brandon Staley, I think his time is about to be up as far as just it's just not clicking. I just, man. So I did a list. I wrote down the teams, and I counted 16 teams that need to be looking at a new quarterback next year. There's 32 teams in the league. That's half the league. So I'm gonna go down the list, and we'll just go through it. The Jets question mark because they put everything in Aaron Rodgers. So, but with that being said, his Achilles injury, he's talking about coming back. That might not be a good look. That could get bad if he tries to come back. And we don't even if he does come back this year or next year, what will that look like? So the Jets, yeah, they're under surveillance for a quarterback right now. They got to figure it out. The Patriots, you already know what that is. That's a wrap with Mac Jones. Kenny Pickett ain't in Pittsburgh, I don't think. They just fired the offensive coordinator, but still, I don't think he's shown anything special. Like you can struggle as a team and have learning curves as a player, but you got to show something special. Like CJ Stroud, you can see what's special. He may make his mistakes and throw his picks, but you can see something's there. The Titans question mark. I don't know about Will Levis yet. I don't know. I really don't know. The Raiders, what are we doing? The Giants, what are we doing? The Commanders question mark. I don't know about Sam Howell, but I don't think that's the guy that's going to lead a franchise to a Super Bowl. The Vikings. I actually like Josh Dobbs. I do. I'm not sure if he's the long-term answer, but as far as like a stopgap, like if you're not in a position to draft a top flight quarterback this year, you want to take a chance on a guy in the second or third round to develop him. I think Josh Dobbs is he's a good stopgap, but I don't think Kirk Cousins is it. I've been saying that. The Packers, Jordan Love question mark. I don't know. I don't see it. The Bears, I like Justin Fields. I don't know if he's the answer I don't know if that situation for both parties is good. So maybe he needs a change of scenery. I would like to see him in Atlanta. We'll see about that. The Saints, I've never been a fan of Derek Carr. But they gave him like that. I think they're stuck with him for a little bit. So I've never been a fan of Carr. But personally, that's not it. The Falcons, Desmond Ridder, right? That's their guy?
Not it.
Okay. The Bucks have Baker Mayfield. We know what that's hitting for, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to Geno. I love Geno's story, but he's not the long-term answer in Seattle. The Rams, Matthew Stafford, great career, but it's over. The Cardinals question mark. I don't know if Kyler Murray in Arizona are going to be I just don't think long-term, I'm not sure if that's their guy. He's a talented quarterback, but just for what we've heard about the video game play and having to put certain things in a contract of studying the playbook, I just don't know, right? So that's half the league. To me, it comes down to the front office. You look at the teams that are winning. You look at the Eagles, Howie Roseman, the way the team has been built. We've even made mistakes with Jalen Reagor, right? But we doubled down on that mistake by getting a Devontae Smith and an A.J. Brown. Even when we're stacked, we're still making moves at the deadline. There's a report that, Shaq Leonard got released by the Colts. Eagles and Cowboys are going to be interested. So Howie Roseman is still making moves. The 49ers, Brock Purdy, may not be physically gifted compared to some of the other quarterbacks, but the way that they built around him, I mean, that's a well-built team, So I think it comes down to a lot with coaching, with front office and building teams and evaluating these quarterbacks and putting your hopes. My number one problem with most of these teams is they can't evaluate QBs. They put their hopes in the wrong quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Like paying Daniel Jones, the Giants deserve everything they're getting.
that was terrible.
And Tommy DeVito, you could have got him on the cheap with the same result.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. You can say all you want about Daniel Jones and not having the weapons or the protection, but at a certain point, I got to see something that I can say, okay, that's an elite skill. And I just don't see it with that. I never bought it out of Duke, and I'm definitely not buying it now, And so I think, to me, that's been my biggest issue with a lot of these teams. They evaluate the quarterback position wrong. They're just not building these teams right, and the coaching is horrible. So, I don't know. I don't see how do I see the tide swinging over the next year or so? I don't think so. I think it's going to be the same next year too.
And then the problem is like a lot of these teams don't have any identity. You know what I mean? We know certain teams, like I look at the Ravens. My whole life, the Ravens have been built on defense. No matter who their quarterback, they could have been Flacco back there. And now with Lamar, we know the Ravens are going to have a legit defense. And they'll have some playmakers on offense that can help them, move the ball and put points on the board. The Eagles, for the past, decade or so, we've been built in the trenches, O-line, D-line. You know what I mean? It's teams, you got to be built on identity. And then, like I said, a lot of these teams draft quarterbacks and don't protect them. The Panthers picked Bryce Young.
Horrible.
He's 5'10", 5'11", with a terrible O-line. And Adam Thielen as his number one. Adam Thielen in 2023.
He pushing 50. He pushing 40 at this point.
That's not it. You're asking a 5'11" quarterback with no O-line, and he's a rookie to come in, and his number one option is Adam Thielen.
And, I'm not a fan of Mac Jones. I don't think he's a starting quarterback at this point in the league. But even with what they did with him last year by hiring Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as offensive coordinator, there's no business Matt Patricia should be an offensive coordinator. No business. No business. Like, that didn't even make sense. Right? And so that's year two, a year after making the playoffs as a rookie. Year two, you just mess him all the way up. And I don't think the situation in New England is all his fault because they haven't put the right pieces around him at all. But the game in that they played overseas against the Colts, some of those passes that Mac made, I'm not sure if you saw those passes, those interceptions that he threw at the end of the game. It's no excuse for that. You can't blame the O-line, you can't blame the coaching, you can't blame the weapons around you. That was just horrible. You know what I mean? So,
but at a certain point, like especially for young QBs, it's like I got to do something. You know what I mean? Like I feel like a lot of these quarterbacks look at it like they going to talk about me either way, and I don't have no help, so I might as well try to make something happen. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks as an NFL fan to pretty much pinpoint. You give me a playoff bracket, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna just write in Kansas City and whoever, it don't really matter. And then on the other side, I'm writing Philly and San Fran, like, unless Dallas decides to be for real in the playoffs, which I'm never gonna think that. You know what I mean? Unless they get a certain new quarterback that I can actually feel I can make big plays in crucial moments. But outside of that, who else in the NFC? Are we, should a team, if you're San Francisco or the Eagles, who are you fearing? You think Jared Goff is going to come into Philly and Detroit and come into Philly and beat that team?
No.
I mean, what Detroit's doing is good. Shout outs to them. Shout out to that franchise and those fans for experiencing a winning team, but I gotta see it. I gotta see it. Like, it's different under the limelight. NFC Championship game is different. Like, and when a team has been there, when a team has been to the bowl, and they know what that takes, I lean toward that team with the experience. Like, there's levels, there's steps that you got to take. I haven't seen Detroit take as a unit, as a whole. So I still got to see more from Detroit. And it's funny, I looked at the Lions schedule. I don't hear the same conversation about the Eagles schedule. I don't hear the same talk about the Lions schedule. If you look at the Lions schedule, you'll see some opponents that are like, okay. But I don't hear that conversation about strength of schedule with Detroit. It's just funny to me. It's funny. We know what it is. It's funny, but we ain't gonna talk too much about the Eagles. 9-1. They beat the Chiefs. Call it what you want to call it. We made the plays when we had to make them. It is what it is. So yeah, AFC Chiefs and whoever else.
Ravens. I'll give the Ravens some credit.
I can say the Ravens. I can say the
I
Ravens.
don't know. I got to see how Lamar's going to do against that Chiefs defense because that
Yeah, Chiefs
Chiefs
defense is legit. It's
they
good.
showed it to me when they played us. They're legit.
The
But
one thing about the
Ravens are
Eagles,
legit this year. They look
the one
good.
thing, the one thing, a lot of these teams that are, you know, the quote unquote elite teams, like take a Dolphins team for example. To me, it's just all flash. Like when things are going wrong, like we've seen the Eagles. We haven't like we're 9-1, but it hasn't been like the flashiest 9-1, right? Like we've had some ugly wins. We've had to figure things out in the middle of a game. To me, that's impressive to be 9-1 and still not quote unquote play your best football and have to struggle and have to figure things out. We're able to win in the trenches. We're able to like tough it out and really grind it out. A lot of these teams ain't built like that. You know what I mean? And so that's why I trust a team like the Eagles and even San Francisco when it comes to the NFC. So we'll see. You know, I think things will become clear over the next few weeks as far as the AFC picture and what other teams we can take serious. But right now, I don't know, man. It's we'll see. I think the AFC is going to be interesting. I'll just say that. Switching to the NBA, we're in the middle of the in-season tournament. I guess the teams are now into the knockout round. They've transitioned into that part. So would you the conversation about, you know, your thoughts on it, how you feel? Do you feel like has this been a great thing for the league? Will it have lasting power? Like, where do you see this thing going over the next couple years?
I like it because the games have been interesting. They've been exciting. It's been a lot of great games like Warriors OKC last week. We saw yesterday with the Sixers and Cavs. We saw the Pacers and Hawks. It's been some exciting games, man. Like, and it seems like the players are actually really buying into it. At first, I was like, you know, what if it's players that don't really care? You got these veterans that have made their money. They're just focused on getting in. But they're buying in. Like even the Lakers last night, you could tell they was, you know what I mean? They're buying. If teams are buying in, I'm with it. The only thing I would, because when I first heard the word tournament, I'm thinking, okay, these guys are all going to meet at one specific place somewhere, and they're going to play maybe for like a week. You know what I mean? That's what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I would change about it. But I see they're trying to do the whole group play soccer thing. That way they can keep the schedule moving. But I feel like it would be a little more exciting if they just did like a one, you know, everybody come to one little place, maybe out Vegas or something, maybe not Vegas. I don't know, somewhere where
is the Final Four in Vegas though?
I'm not sure.
Let me look that up. I think it is
going to be in Vegas this year. Super Bowl's
I think it's hold on, in season Las Vegas. Hold on. So the championship is on December 9th. It's a Saturday. So I'm on NBA.com. The semifinals on December 7th and championship will take place at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. So that's dope.
That's dope, then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. I wasn't like at first, I didn't know what was going on totally. And I seen like even Bones, for example, they asked about it. He was like, I don't even know what's going on. I feel like some of the players didn't either because to them, it's still a regular season game because it counts.
Yeah.
But I like what it's doing because it's generating like, you know, more fans are watching. I feel like the games are exciting. That's the main thing. And the only thing I don't like is some of these courts is
the courts are trash.
Crazy. But some of them are cool and some of them are crazy. But for the first year, it's not bad. You know, I give them props for this.
I was confused in the beginning. I'm like, because it's just, I don't even look. I know it's the in-season tournament, but some days I don't even realize it until I see the court. Like I don't even know what's the in-season and what's the regular season until I see the court, right? And I'm like, all right, is there anything special that these teams get in the standings? Like, to me, it was just another regular season game. I think a lot of players and fans had the same focus. Like, all right, it's just what's the difference? But I know there's money involved, right? So that's something that players are going to be playing for. Obviously, the guys who are making max dollars, whatever, but the guys who are at the end of that bench, that money could be beneficial. But I think for me, I think it's two things. I think it gives the people are talking about it. That's number one. And so if people are talking about it, whether they like it or love it, I think that's a positive thing for the league, for the game. There's a conversation about it, which is going to lead to people watching like, oh, look at these courts, look at the jerseys, look at the city edition uniforms for the in-season tournament. And so it's getting people watching, it's getting the conversation going. For me, I think it's a bigger, when it comes to the future of it, I think it's a bigger platform for the overlooked teams and players to shine on a bigger stage and be like, look, like a Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana, what OKC's doing. I think some of the Sacramento, Utah, like I think some of these teams that may not get a lot of national attention, or even teams that are still trying to find their way, I think they can use the play-in tournament to sort of push their names out to the forefront, push the franchise out to the forefront. It helps out the league and helps out the players too. We're trying to get that notoriety. You know, they may not stay in that market forever, but if I go to Vegas and show out, that puts my name in a certain spotlight, right? That conversation is going to be had. And so I like it when it comes to shedding light on the lesser known players or the markets. I think that's one positive. And also I think the league is still, I think in a few years, it wouldn't shock me if there was an expansion team in Vegas. I think that's where the league is gearing to. I mean, the summer league is huge in Vegas. And so having the Final Four in Vegas, that makes sense. And so I think this is still another step in them ramping up. Let's build this franchise in Vegas one day. Let's build this interest. Let's build this NBA fan base in Vegas. And so I mean, it's basketball. We're going to love it. Regardless if you're a hoop head, you're going to love it. And so I think having the courts, having the city edition uniforms, it's a market. It's marketing for the league. It's generating money. You're selling these advertisements. ESPN is on board. TNT, like it's more money, more dollars, right? And so I think for the league and for the players and for the teams, I don't think there's no way you can lose because the interest is there. And you're going to get, if you end up in Vegas, you're going to win money and the notoriety probably. I mean, it's going to be more eyes. People are going to watch the Final Four of the play-in, not the play-in, the in-season tournament. You know what I mean? Like we watched the play-in, and so we're definitely going to watch the Final Four in-season tournament in Vegas. I think it's going to be exciting, especially if it's a dope matchup. Like we're going to watch it, you know? So to get a dope matchup like that in December, I think it's going to be fun. So we'll see what that matchup might be. We just mentioned the young teams getting their shine and their platform in this in-season tournament. Let's talk about some teams and I guess the health of these young franchises, these teams that have a young core and that are trying to figure it out. Some teams that, whether they found their way, maybe they're on the upswing, or maybe they're just in no man's land. I think it's a good conversation to have. I think in the Western Conference, especially, I think we're starting to see a sort of shift in hierarchy when it comes to some of these newer teams and the teams with the older players, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Warriors, the Suns are trying to figure it out. But you look at the top, obviously Denver's there, but you got the Timberwolves, you got the Thunder, the Kings are starting to, they're still in the mix right now. And so what do you see as far as these young teams in the league? Let's start with the teams that are sort of kind of figured it out this year, kind of setting the league on notice, like we're here, like this is legit. And there's one team that, I've talked about a lot, and I'm just like, I'm excited to talk about them. But what are some of the teams that, you're definitely excited about for their future prospects?
Starting in the West is the Rockets for sure. Just seeing how Udoka has came in and kind of shifted the culture, because like we talked about before, man, the Rockets, they were just playing pickup ball. If you ask me, they're playing defense. They letting Jalen Green, Kevin Porter go out there and just hoop. This year, like they got Fred VanVleet in there. Always been a fan of his. They got Dylan Brooks. People say what you want about Dylan Brooks, but want to bring energy. And, he's a dog, mentally, you know what I mean? So they need that type of presence on a young team. And even Sengun is playing good. Jalen Green, he's took a step back from his scoring and the amount of shots he's taking, but he's improving in other areas and it's translating to winning. Like they're 6-6 right now. If a year ago, this team wouldn't have been 6-6. They probably have been like 3-9 or 2-10. You know what I mean? So just improvement like that. And then in the West, not the West, the East for me, the Magic, man. Magic are legit. Like they're a team that's fun to watch. I like the way they're built. Like they have a lot of players that are like versatile. Payalo, they got friends. They got Markel, who he's just staying healthy this year for the most part. Cole Anthony Black, Wendell Carter when he comes back. Jalen Suggs is playing better this year. It's just like they have a team full of athletic guys who can do a little bit of everything. And that's like kind of the way that basketball is going. You know what I mean? It's not so much about being the traditional point guard, traditional center. Like the Magic, they don't even have a guy that's like leading them crazy in assists. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's chipping in. They're playing real team basketball. They don't have a crazy 30-point per game scorer like Paolo and friends, probably average close to 20. But just the way they play, like they play defense too. Like they're a young team that really plays big. Like we talked about the Rockets last year. They're a young team that was just out there trying to hoop. But the
Yeah.
Magic, their team is out there really trying to play winning basketball, and it's just fun to see. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, for me, what OKC is doing, they've been my favorite team to watch. Outside of the Sixers, obviously, your rooting interest, but the Thunder, man,
Or what?
like that was a team that I expected to be in that top six. For me, the expectation was they're not a playing team. That's a playoff team, right? And to see what they're doing right now, like it's not a fluke. I think this is a legit playoff team in the Western Conference. And so the crazy thing about it is you look at the draft picks that they have coming up, what Sam Presti has done to collect these assets. Who knows what those picks can turn out to be when it comes to trades. If you're keeping these deals, they got a lot of picks coming up over the next few years that add on to what they already have. If they can't pay certain guys, like, okay, we still got these picks that they can end up making the Western Conference Finals run. And still, I got to look at the list of picks that they have and what pick swaps they have, but it could get nasty for the West. It could get very scary. And so what they're doing, I mean, with SGA, Josh Giddey, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Isaiah Joe. I feel like I'm missing names, but yeah, like Case and Wiles, one of my favorite rookies. That was a great pick for the Thunder, right? They have both Jalen Williams. They have Kenrich. I love his game and the toughness that he brings. And so they have a bunch of guys that are skillful, right? These are guys that can all handle the rock. They can pass it, and they're crafty. They're not just relying upon their athleticism. Like, there's not one guy on the Thunder that I can say when it comes to like their top 5, top 6 guys, right? Like they're starting 5 for sure. You're looking at a Josh Giddey, SGA, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, like that 4 just off the rip. All those guys are skilled. They're crafty, right? Like Lou Dort, like just what he brings defensively. He's improved offensively too. And so they love playing with each other. And they're not afraid. There's a confidence that, I mean, what they did against Golden State, I watched the end of that game. What SGA was doing, just breaking those guys down, the big shot that Chet Holmgren had. I mean, to me, this is the most impressively built team for me in the league. I think they're perfectly built for today's game as far as positionless basketball, every guy being able to handle the rock, every guy being confident enough to make plays on their own. I just like how they're built. Like they're building this team very, very, very smart, and it's made for the modern game. And so I can't say enough about the Thunder. I'm excited to see what they do in the playoffs because I think, man, it's crazy to say, oh, can the Thunder make the Western Conference Finals when you talk about the Lakers having LeBron and AD and the Clippers and what they have and the Phoenix Suns? But it's like those teams that I just mentioned, number one, can you count on the health? Can you count on the chemistry? And can you count on the consistency of effort? Sometimes with the Lakers and Clippers, I can't count on none of those things, right? The health, I definitely can't count. The chemistry, I can't count on. And I don't know. Sometimes I watch the Lakers and just the consistent effort outside of LeBron just isn't there. I can't trust that. With the Thunder, the health hasn't been a concern for a large part. The chemistry is there. And they're going to play with an effort. They have a style and identity that is consistent on a nightly basis. And so, to me, that's what Denver has. That's why Denver is the best team in the NBA still, to me. You know, Jamal Murray's hurt right now, but when they get him back, they're off and running again like usual. And so it's OKC. But if I have to pick a team in the Eastern Conference that I've enjoyed watching, it's the Pacers. I love Tyrese Halliburton. I love Benedict Mathurin. Bruce Brown was a great pickup. You know, Buddy Hield. Ryan Nembhard, he's a nice point guard. Like, I just think how they play, it's a fun style of basketball. They're confident, and having a point guard like Tyrese Halliburton, man, he just makes things easier for everybody. And so the Pacers have been impressive. Pacers and Thunder are like my league pass. Like, no matter who they're playing, I'm at least lock in for a quarter, at least just see what's happening. So those are the teams that I'm really tuned into for sure. Now on the opposite end, there's some teams that are filled with young guys, but the impact isn't hitting the same as the Magics, the Thunder, the Rockets, and then the Pacers. We can name a couple teams for sure. I'm looking at the Wizards. I'm looking at the Pistons. To me, the Wizards are a comedy show with Jordan Poole and what they got going on. But with the Pistons, I'm not sure what direction they're going in. I really don't know. They could be in lottery land for the next 2-3 years. I really think that, because what generational talent is coming out that they're talking about, for the next couple of years. You know what I mean? Like, I know Cooper Flag's out there, but he's not in this draft class coming up, right? And so where does Detroit go? Cade Cunningham's a nice player, but I'm not sure if he's a franchise-altering player.
I think the Pistons' problem is they don't have enough shooting on the team, man. It's like I was watching them play the other night. They're playing the Hawks, and I think Cade can be a franchise player, but the problem is there's no floor space, and they were playing the Hawks. Every time he get the ball off the pick and roll, there's literally doubling, and they're sagging off because they know Asar is not going to shoot. They know Jaden Ivey's not a shooter. We know Killian Hayes is not a shooter. They got Marvin Bagley out there. He's not a shooter. The only person they had on the court at the time that could shoot was Kevin Knox. And come on, Kevin Knox been in the league for what?
He's a journeyman. He's a journeyman at this point.
He was supposed to be. He came in, but
I'm
not worried about him. We'll let him live. You know what I mean? So they actually construct something around Cade. Like they drafted Jaden Ivey. They drafted all these guards that can't shoot. It's just messy. Like I feel like Cade, I like Cade's game. 6'6". He's smart. He can shoot the mid. He can shoot the three. He's a great passer, and he plays D.
Yeah.
Who am I playing with? I love the Asar pickup. He has to work on his outside.
He's gonna be good. He's gonna be good though.
Yeah, he has to work on his outside shot, but we'll live with him not being able to shoot if we can get some guys around there. But you can't have 4 or 9 shooters on the court.
Yeah,
a whole bunch of journeymen, young guys that are like, we're still waiting for them to do something. They're just not building the team right.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I love Cade's game. I love Asar's game, but outside of that, it's just like I love Jaden Ivey's game coming out of Purdue. I just think I'm not sure he's getting lost in the shuffle there. Killian Hayes is getting more. I think Killian Hayes is starting, which I don't understand that, but whatever. Not my call. But I watch Killian Hayes and I don't see it, but whatever. He has the same move every time. You know what's happening. A little behind the back.
Or he's going to cherry pick.
He ain't going nowhere with it. But I don't know. I like I said, over the next couple of years, they could just be in constant rebuilding mode. I think they're stuck in that cycle right now. You know what I mean? I think with Cade Cunningham, I think you need a dynamic wing that can score. Like you need a wing like that, like a true two-way wing that can score to go with Cade Cunningham. I think then we'll start to see some promising results out of Detroit. Outside of that, nah. Like Detroit's a place at this point where they're just throwing darts and hoping some young guys develop. Like that's just what it is. You see with James Wiseman, Marvin Bagley, Killian Hayes, it's a place where you hope some young guys develop. They're just hoping right now. It's a bunch of hope with no direction. The Wizards, that's just a joke to me. I love Bilal. He's good. He's going to be good. To me, this year should be all about him. Give him the rock. Let him create, get comfortable with the ball, because Jordan Poole, let's stop it. Let's stop it. He got his ring. He got the bag. He doesn't care about winning right now. Come on. I literally saw the Wizards game against the Celtics. You might have saw it. He was just casually putting the ball behind his back, trying to shoot it. Porzingis said, "What are you doing? Stop it." But that's the type of ball that we're seeing in Washington. Kyle Kuzma's a good player, but come on. I can't take this team serious. And it's a shame because there's a couple of young players on that roster that I actually like. I think Corey Kispert can be a solid shooter for a legit team, but you're not going to know it because this team is just a comedy show. And I think Bilal Koulibaly is going to be a really good player, but is he in the right frame of situation to develop? I don't know. If it was my call, I'm running everything through Bilal. I don't care how much money I'm giving Poole or Kuzma, but Bilal is a guy that is showing me two-way potential. He's only, 19? He's still growing into his frame, into his game. Let him make this year and the next year, he can make all the mistakes he wants. We're not winning. Let him develop. But it's going to be the Poole and Kuzma show, and I can't take that serious.
He's out there having fun, man. Literally, like you could tell they GM said, "Listen, we about to restart. Go get Jordan Poole. See how he is as a number one. But we just having fun, and they running with it. I hope it doesn't last too long because that creates bad habits and it's a stunted growth of these young players that they got. But we'll see what happens.
And there's reports about Poole being on the trading block. Like, what do you like?
What's his value now?
What are you actually building and why? Like some of these things, some of these front office, I'm just looking at and laughing at. Like, what are you doing? Like, and to me, Detroit and Washington are two of the franchises. With the Spurs, they have Vic, they have Keldon, they have Devin. Like, they got some nice young players. Like you see what they're building there. They got to get a point guard in there. They have to. But I think the Spurs are going to be okay. They're going to be all right. Portland, I think Scoot's going to be okay. I'm not going to write him off just yet. I love Shaedon Sharpe. Even with, I think Charlotte needs one more like elite piece. I think Brandon Miller's going to be good. LaMelo's been going crazy. Yeah. I like Mark Williams, the big man. I think Charlotte, they get one like another elite wing. I think they can do some damage in the East.
Yeah, for sure.
I like Charlotte. I'm trying to think of other teams. Utah's interesting. I like the players that Utah has. They have a collection of pieces who would be great on like playoff teams, right? Lauri Markkanen, legit though. But you look at Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, right? Like a Walker Kessler, Taylor Horton Tucker. Like Utah's legit. Like, they got some nice pieces, but obviously in the Western Conference, I think New Orleans is promising too. I think once they get guys healthy and consistent, I think they're going to be a problem for sure. But Washington and Detroit fans, I don't know what to tell you, man. Just get to know the class of 2024, 25, and 26 drafts. That's all I'm just Cooper Flag, whoever, like, get to know Isaiah Collier, get to know those guys, get to know those names, because it's looking crazy for y'all. Real crazy. But that's it for this show. Hope y'all enjoy the rest of the in-season tournament. I guess, games every Tuesday and Friday, right, for the in-season. So enjoy that. Enjoy these football games coming up, and we'll have more to talk about for sure. But don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, also on Apple Podcasts for sure. And thank y'all for watching.
Peace out.